Namaste. This is the third and final video in our series of capsule psychoanalysis. In the previous two videos, we explored the topic of Indian spirituality and Sigmund Freud from the point of view of philosophy and science. We shall continue to discuss from the vantage point of synthesis in concept and application. To discuss more on this topic, let us welcome our psychoanalysis consultant, Mr. Himanshu Vaidya. Namaste, sir. Sir, is there any synergy, I mean, the areas, any synthesis between Indian spirituality and Sigmund Freud? Is it possible at all in terms of concepts or healing or self
Yeah,
development?
I think we can look at synthesis at all the levels in terms of philosophy, in terms of concept, and in terms of healing. To focus more on the concept and the healing part, uh, both of them, both these edifices, the edifice of Freud's work and the edifice of what is in the arcade of Indian spirituality, both of them have something to contribute to each other and can complement each other, and therefore in terms of concept, in terms of healing, in terms of pathogenesis, both of them actually can complement each other in two ways. One, for those elements that are common to each other, there can be enriching of explanations. You can enrich existing explanations both ways. For those concepts which are present in one edifice and not present in the other edifice, you can take those concepts there and enrich the other edifice. So there is a synthesis possible because at the end of everything, both of them do deal with the central premise, the central uh, concern of self-knowing and self-transformation. And when we come to the whole concept of self-knowing and self-transformation, there is no way that we can escape some of the ideas of Freud and some of the ideas of Indian spirituality. So a Freudian unknowingly, if he goes deep inside enough, will encounter certain phenomena well explained by Indian spirituality, and the Indian yogi who goes deep enough into himself will encounter phenomena well explained, better explained by Sigmund Freud. So there is definitely a case that both of them can enrich each other mutually, and uh, if somebody can create a kind of a integrating theory, that would be the ideal. But short of that also, both of them can definitely enrich each other.
When you say synthesis in concept and application, does that mean therapy, healing and therapy, or can you elaborate a little on that?
We can have integration in three levels: the model of the mind, the core psychoanalytic concepts and comparable concepts in Indian spirituality, pathogenesis, and healing. At all the four layers, we can have a synthesis. Now, in this particular talk, since we are focusing more on the concept and the healing part, not focusing so much on the philosophy, the meta psychology, and the end goal part, those two we can deal with at some other point. But today, if we focus upon the concept and the application, in conceptual terms, we can have synthesis in the areas of one, model of the mind; two, development of the individual; three, constitution and structure of the whole individual, not only the mind, and see how the mind is located within the broader system; four, pathogenesis, and fifth, uh, healing. Okay? So these are the areas in which we can look at a synthesis of the two, right? In terms of in the areas of model of the mind, the working of the mind, the development of the individual, pathogenesis, and healing. And of course, healing covers the area of therapy.
Right. So, how do the two approaches engage with the core issue of self transformation or self knowing, self development?
Uh, Now, this is something which is very fundamental because for Freud, self transformation essentially happened when the unconscious became conscious and the blocked affect was released in catharsis. And that resulted in a healthy integration of personality. Now, the same thing also is accepted in the Indian spiritual tradition, but the tools that they use for healing are not limited to the single tool that Freud used of making the unconscious conscious and releasing the blocked affect in catharsis. In Indian spirituality, they also use tools of uh, visualization, tools of psychodrama, of mantra, of alchemical experimentation and consuming substances of that, of Ayurveda, of certain yogic practices, and very importantly of idol worship. So on this point of healing, there are different ways in which both of them approach the concept. And when we look at transformation, self-knowing and self-transformation, for Freud, there was a one classical method of psychoanalysis for self-knowing and self-transformation, whereas in Indian spirituality, there are number of methods, not only number of methods, number of categories of methods. So you have one category of methods which is based upon action, the karma yoga methods. One category of methods based upon uh, bhakti or bhav, which is based upon the affective part of human system, and one which is based upon jnana or knowledge or the cognitive aspects of the human system. Okay? Not only the three, there is the fourth one based upon the energy system, which goes into the way energies function, and then there is something which deals with the mystical and the karmic aspect. So when it comes to self-knowing and self-transformation, uh, Freud has one tool of the classical approach of psychoanalysis, whereas in Indian spirituality, there are actually at least 5 categories of tools, and within each category, we will have not less than 25 to 50 different tools. So it's almost like in Indian spirituality, we have a Walmart of techniques for self-knowing and self-transformation.
That is right. And so, which are the five major techniques in Indian spirituality that you mentioned?
The 5 major techniques essentially are those which are based upon karma, action, bhava or bhakti, which is affect, uh, Gyan, which is knowledge or cognition, the energy, right, and the karma or the mystical spiritual elements. In terms of the schools, if you look, these 5 elements have been variously used by various schools. So those schools which focus only on the action part, they will go on the lines of the Hatha Yoga school or the Karma Yoga school.
Right.
Those which are only on the affective part will go on the Bhakti Yoga school. Those which are on the knowledge part will go in the Dhyan Yoga school. Those which go in the energy part will get into more of meditative techniques or Reiki or pranic healing or pranayam or some observational schools which will combine the Gyan and the uh, energy. So you will have schools like Raj Yoga schools, which are a combination of Gyan and energy. And then you will have schools like integral yoga, which combine everything into one. And then you have a tantric school which also combines all of that into one, but puts it in a very different context of the chakra system within the body, and also is, in terms of its flavor and application, very permissive, very experimental, and very uh, I should say uh, very risk taking kind of a school. So the classical psychoanalysis is based upon the principle reflecting, not acting. But the Eastern schools, many of the Eastern schools don't abide by that percept, and they find nothing wrong in acting out under supervision and with awareness in order to overcome the problem. So they resemble very closely the behavioral school or the psychodrama school in the Western psychotherapy context.
Yes, true. Sir, in terms of specifics, how can the two benefit from synthesis? Like, has any work been done in this area? Uh,
Yes, both of them can benefit in synthesis, and mankind will benefit even more than individually each of them benefits. Uh, Let us take a few examples. When we look at the model of the mind, if you bring the yogic model of the mind, if you look at Sankhya's model of the mind, if you look at the tantric model of the mind, if you look at Sri Aurobindo's model of the mind, and then when you look at Freud's model of the mind, there are a lot of insights which can be brought from Indian spirituality to Freud's model of the mind, and the model can be developed further. Similarly, from Freud's insights, you can take to Indian spiritual models of the mind and enrich them and develop them further. If you were to integrate, let us say, if you look at the tantric model of the mind, and if you take your vantage point in the sexual center, the Swadhisthana, and if you look at the world from that center, it looks almost like the world as you would see from the lens of Sigmund Freud's theory. So this is also a way of incorporating a whole theory into a more wider modular structure. So you can take insights from one to enrich the other. You can also take a full theory and put it into a modular open space of some other model of the mind in the other edifice. Okay. This can be one kind of conceptual synthesis. And let us say we talk about applied synthesis. In applied synthesis, okay, let me before that take another example. Okay, let us go to the applied synthesis. In applied synthesis, let us say we come to the point of child upbringing, how to bring up a child. Right? Now, in Freudian terms, we know what are the danger points in the psychosexual development. So the next question is what to do about it. How to make sure that minimum damage occurs and we avoid those hazardous, risky situations which are possible on the way. So after analysis comes the prescription what to do. And here, in the Indian spirituality, there is a very elaborate study of how to bring up a child. Let us say there are 100 prescriptions with some analysis given, and out of that, we find 25 or 30 useful. If they could be incorporated in the Freudian theory, tested further conceptually and empirically, and then put forward as prescriptions, it would be a huge addition to the Freudian school and human well-being itself.
yes. So, sir, then what is the future? How do you see this evolving? The synthesis is like I'm again tempted to ask you: is there any work happening on this? And if yes, then what is the future of the synthesis?
Yeah, I missed that work happening in the last question.
Hmm.
Uh, Towards the synthesis of the two, Indian spirituality and Sigmund Freud, uh, work has happened on and off. Nobody has done a systematic work for a long time. The first attempt, and a brilliant attempt, I would say, I should not even call it an attempt, I should call it real rigorous work, not an attempt, was done by Swami Ajaya. uh, the real name is Ellen Winstock, and Rudolph Ballantyne, Dr. Rudolph Ballantyne. And both of them were disciples of Swami Rama. Both of them were trained in the both psychoanalysis as well as in Eastern sciences, the yogic sciences, Indian spiritual sciences, right? Both Indian spiritual philosophy and philosophy, yoga, and psychotherapy aspects of Indian spirituality. Of course, the mysticism within Indian spirituality is different. The rigorous philosophy is different, but they were trained in softer parts of philosophy and largely in psychotherapy and yoga. So they brought out two important books. The first was Psychotherapy East and West, a Unifying Paradigm. And second was Yoga and Psychotherapy, the Evolution of Consciousness. So they did some work to integrate Western psychotherapy with uh, the psychotherapy aspect of Indian spirituality. And in the process, they also integrated what we are talking today, Freud's work and some part of Indian spirituality. After that, we had sorry, we had off and on people doing something to connect psychoanalysis and Indian spirituality. But nobody has done a sustained work in this area, and I believe it is time that somebody takes up that part. That is one part. Uh, the second part is related to uh, uh, what future is there. I think in future, both of them will come together on a variety of aspects. One will be the model of the mind. Second will be pathogenesis. The third will be the healing. And healing, I think, is an area where the synthesis will be maximum, because people will see great value in what the Indian spiritual healing techniques have to offer, especially those parts which deal with energy healing, visualization, and idol worship. I would specifically focus here on the science of idol worship, on how important that is as a psychotherapy method, because the idol is created based upon the need of the person. The personality of the idol is created based upon the need of the person. The person then gets into a relationship with it and passes through the phases of what is called as Tanmayata, Tadrupta, and Ekatmata. Right? And these phases, if you psychoanalytically analyze, are deeply involved with processes of relating, of incorporation, of internalization, of identification, and introducing a transmuting internalization, to use Kohut's language, in order to bring a permanent change in oneself and internalize a good, reliable, stable object of a particular flavor which is complementing to our needs. So this is something, one aspect of how the future synthesis can happen. My personal feeling is, at the level of concept, at the level of model of the mind, at the level of philosophy, model of the mind, pathogenesis, and healing, there will be integration happening. An important aspect here is patients have started already synthesizing the two outside of the knowledge of the therapist. So today, patients go to a Freudian psychotherapist or a Kleinian psychotherapist and also take help from a pranic healer or a yoga healer or a Reiki healer and so on. So synthesis has already started in practice. It is just that we are not officially recognizing that. And a very important element will be uh, for especially people in the Freudian school, the Indian spiritual uh, concepts, therapy techniques, model of the mind will open up new doors. And the Freudian technique will also be very useful for those who are on the spiritual path. Because I see many people who are deeply and genuinely spiritual, who have spent a lifetime in self-knowing and self-transformation, but just because they don't know the Freudian concepts, they keep suffering from those difficulties which could be easily overcome if they knew the Freudian concepts. Right? So there is a great need to utilize the psychoanalytic schools in the spiritual area. Right? So whether we are talking of a Buddhist monastery or a Jain monastery or any other, or Osho commune or Sri Aurobindo ashram, there is a necessity to use psychoanalysis for one's own spiritual self-development. Because we have very sincere, very genuine people uh, who transform a great deal of themselves, but certain parts remain primitive, and they are not able to really break free of them because they don't use these tools, at times out of ignorance, worse at times out of irrational condemnation. Okay? So I think the synthesis will do good to the two edifices themselves, to people, and to those interested who are, and to those who are therapists or spiritual seekers uh, looking forward to self-development.
Right. But as you said, unknowingly, we have started, using both the the therapy way as well as the healing methods. Friends, today we have explored the subject of Indian spirituality and Sigmund Freud from the point of view of philosophy, science, and even in terms of synthesis in the concept and application. With this, we complete the capsule series on psychoanalysis. But before we sign off, I thank you, Mr. Himanshu Vaidya, for sharing your immense knowledge with us. We will be coming up with many more such videos on other topics in psychoanalysis. Do watch and write to us at hvindia@gmail.com. Thank you. Namaste.